All right, thank you. We want to welcome everybody here on September 3rd to City Council agenda. Hopefully you had a nice Labor Day weekend and so we can all be here together. Those that are from the public, council members that are here, those who are joining on Zoom, we welcome everyone. Let's do a roll call of the council to make sure we can conduct business tonight.
Meekum present.
Summer Hayes present.
Heeman present.
Hurst present.
Plummer present.
Thank you, council, for all being here. Thank you, staff that helped prepare this meeting and is here as well, too. We'll start with the legislative prayer or thought by Council Member Spencer Summer Hayes.
Thanks, Mayor. It's a simple thought, but I think it's profound, and it's stuck with me for quite a long time, and that is, it's generally true, you will never be happier than you are grateful. You will never be happier than you are grateful. I think if you think about those things in your life that you're grateful for, even the most small things, it's hard not to be happy, have a smile on your face, particularly as a city council member, grateful for excellent staff, and we have some recognitions tonight, which makes it all the better. So that's my thought, Mayor. Hopefully we can be more grateful in the pursuit of happiness.
Thank you, Councilmember Summer Hayes. Appreciate that. Okay, if you'd all rise with me and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have some recognitions tonight, but before we do that, recognitions and presentations. It's our open session. This is where you're allowed to come to the pulpit and state where you're from, and please, if you're so inclined, keep your comments to a couple of minutes and introduce yourself as well too. So that open session is now available.
Well, I'm a happy person, and I'm grateful for all of you, because we have lived in Center Road for 32 years. Been a great place to raise a family. We had a neighbor
For the
across
record, can you give us your name?
Yeah, Don Baxter.
Thanks, Don.
My number is 801.
You don't have to give all that.
No, don't do that.
The police might find me that way. Okay, well, I had, there was a house across the street from me. I live at 98 East, 2050 North in Centerville. And across the street, the Sheckles lived for the last 25 years. They have a separate basement apartment in their home and then an upper level home. And they both passed away last year. They sold the home to Yinka Odejiran, and he bought the home. I've got a letter that kind of explains this. Maybe you could pass it back. I'll give it to you and you can pass it to whoever.
Do you want to? Are you okay if I just pass it out, Jennifer? Does that work?
So he fixed up the house, and then he got called on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to the Africa West Mission. He was from Africa. They moved in, and we became fast friends. And he got called back to Africa for a 1 to 5 year stint in Africa. He had someone renting his basement, and then he found out about when he tried to rent this top level, he found out that there was an ordinance against that. And so I guess the property manager had asked about this. I first came in contact because I wanted to go down and get a UDA application. I first came to the city here. They sent me down to the office on the west side, and I met Sydney. You're not Sydney, are you? No wonder you didn't recognize me. I met Sydney DeWee, and we talked about the situation, and then she sent me a note back that I should come here and express my concerns. So he wrote this letter, and it just says that they're the owners. They purchased the property in October of 23, and the basement apartment is totally separate. And then he was living in the upside. So then he found out about the UDA approval in the Centerville. I'm a little confused about that. When I read the law, I don't know why you'd need an exception unless you're going to rent it. If you had an upstairs and you were leaving, and there's an exception in there so that if you are leaving for a work assignment, that you could apply for this UDA approval and then hopefully get an okay to rent the basement. That did not sound like no one would give me a UDA approval. I've never got an application for it, so I had him write this letter. But anyway, he's been assigned to Africa for probably 3 years. And he's trying to rent the top and the bottom. But according to the Centerville Code, you can only rent one or the other. So the property manager is trying to rent it. He's trying to rent the whole home, including the basement. And it's very difficult because you got to find the exact situation where there's a mother-in-law or child or something. So he is asking for you to amend the code so that he could rent the basement and rent the top. He's had it empty for 2 months now. It's not renting because he can't rent it all in one section. So I'm just here to represent him with this letter to ask you to amend the code so that he could rent the upstairs and the downstairs. So that's my reason for coming.
Thanks, Don. So what we'll do is, we got a copy with our city recorder. We'll get it to the proper department. We'll look into it. I think, I hate to correct you, but I think you're meaning to say ADUs rather than UDAs.
UDA.
Accessory dwelling units.
Yes, yes.
And that's the ordinance that's passed by the legislature. We've addressed accessory dwelling units, so we'll have to look at this particular case and see
Okay.
what the situation might be.
I did, my next door neighbor happens to be the attorney in Farmington, and he read through the code along with me, and he thought that with a waiver, he could rent both of them in Farmington with him gone for the 3 years. So I'm a little, I don't understand all of the writing in this, but why would you have a waiver unless it was a waiver to be able to rent that while you were gone?
The time's of the essence for him, I'm sure. We'll see whether it qualifies or what he would have to do if it was possible.
Sure, he understood that you'd have to come in here or fill out the paperwork,
So
get a waiver.
We'll have to see the situation, yeah.
But we were
So-
told right off the bat, you don't qualify for it, so I was a little
Yeah.
confused why I didn't go through the process. But whether it's a waiver or whether it's amending the code, I would like to help him so he can rent both places out, so that he can, have a return on his house while he's serving in Africa for 3 years.
Thanks, Don.
Okay.
Thanks for being a good neighbor as well, too.
Thank you.
Caring for your neighbor. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, anybody else on the open session? If not, we'll move on from the open session. We're going to move up the introduction of our new Public Works Department employee, Laura Nance. So, Mike, you want to come up?
Mayor, City Council, I want to introduce Lauren Nance, who's our new Public Works administration person to help us out in Public Works. She started for us in July 8th, and so that's when she started, but she feels like she's been here a lot longer than that. I don't know why, but it's all good. We really appreciated her. She's come in with some great skills, and as Suzanne left, she did a great job as well, but we wanted to move in some different directions and stuff, and Lauren's really helped us to move forward in that in just a short 60 days. Isn't that about right, 60 days?
I'd say so.
Okay. But anyway, she's really helped us. One area that we were weak on was the web design and being able to put stuff on the web. She just barely got going on that one, so we expect great things to happen. She has some great abilities and skills to help us with that. She's been working on that as well as jumping into the backflow program. I don't know if any of you have ever had to jump into a real tough deal and try to figure it out. Well, she's been working on that. Between her and Jana, they both got it all gone through, and we're making progression and moving forward in that direction. She's been working on that. Excavation permits, we've caught that. We're getting back on task on that one, where we're making sure we're doing everything right. But she's been an instigator of being able to get stuff permitting onto the web pages for us, so people can actually be able to pull it off that way. I could go on for quite some time. This morning we sat down in our Public Works meeting, and as she was there, it just felt like she's been here for a long time, and she has a lot of knowledge and just really good about stepping in and helping out. And anyway, as far as work goes, we're really excited to have her there. I expect great things, and I'm sure she can deliver everything that's there. So my big worry is keeping her busy all the time, because she is pretty efficient. So she does have some stuff I'd like to let her announce, or whatever she wants to put out there. I told her I'd stand by her just because you guys are scary. I don't know why. But.
Like Mike said, I'm Lauren. Just a little background. I've been in Utah for almost 10 years now. I'm originally from Georgia. I went to school at LDS Business College and graduated there. I have a beautiful daughter who is 3, almost 4, and I am getting married in 3 weeks. So as well as I'm busy at work, I'm also busy in my personal life, which is great. And I'm excited to be here working with this wonderful community. So thank you.
Awesome.
Any questions for Lauren?
I met Lauren when she came in filling out paperwork, and she's marrying a local boy, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
The family's very proud.
Yeah. So that's wonderful as well too. And it sounds like she's been doing a great job. That means it was over 2 months ago we met, right? So,
Yes, yeah, it's been great.
So we're excited. Obviously, you're doing great things down there in Public Works, and
Thank you.
well, welcome to the team.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So thank you. Good luck with the wedding coming up.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, let's move on to Police Department promotions. We got recognition of promotions of Lieutenant Barge and Sergeant McWilliams. We have our Chief Ackerson here with us. And welcome, Chief. Take it away.
All right, we'll start with Sergeant McWilliams. Come forward, along with his family. Anyone else who came here with him. So, you guys want to come up? You want to stay back? Okay, a little bit about Sean. He has his wife here, Bonnie, and his 3 boys, Grady, Gavin, and Griffin. All the G's. So Sergeant McWilliams, his promotion took effect like August 3rd or 4th, so about a month ago. Yes. So just trying to figure out a good time to recognize him with everyone here. But Sergeant McWilliams comes to us originally from Kansas. He was a state trooper there from 2001 to about 2013, 15, I don't know, yeah. And then he moved to Utah with the Highway Patrol, and then in 2017 we were lucky enough to pick him up as a patrol officer. He then got promoted to a master officer a couple years ago, and then now to sergeant. Some other things about him in his career, he works on the public order unit. I believe he's a squad leader there where they, it's like the riot control. He's a negotiator for the Davis County SWAT team. He's a peer support, member of our peer support for our police department. And he's an instructor in, as a standardized field sobriety test, he was a drug recognition expert for the Utah Highway Patrol. Just a lot of different qualifications. During his testing process, where we grade him and critique him and make sure he's ready to be a sergeant. Some of the things we grade him on are, we consider years of service with Centerville. We send out peer support, or sorry, peer evaluations to all the officers and staff where they are brutally honest in critiquing the candidates. We consider education and training. I think he has like 130, 140 college credit hours. There's a written test and an oral board where they fire him with questions, they review his resume, and then I have an opportunity to provide chief points based on my evaluation of him. And at the end of that process, he was selected as our sergeant, and he's invited his wife Bonnie here to pin his sergeant badge onto him. Yeah, if you like to maybe step off the side here so you can get a good view. Sarge. Okay, next we have Lieutenant Barnes. Come forward. Interesting, Chief Child, he was going to join in, retired Chief Child, was going to join in via YouTube. And so I think he went and hopped on and did a quick Google search to try and figure out the right YouTube channel for this going on, and found that Centerville, Georgia promoted a lieutenant tonight in their city council meeting. And I mentioned that to Lieutenant Barnes, and he actually lived in Centerville, Georgia for a period of time as well. So,
Small world.
unrelated but interested.
Fun fact.
Yes, fun fact. Okay, so Lieutenant Barnes, he's here with his wife Connie, daughter Bailey, and then two of his boys here. Just one. Berkeley's not here, but we got Bentley, and then Bradley's away right now and down in Mexico. Will got hired by the Centerville Police Department in 2005 after self-sponsoring through 2006, sorry, after self-sponsoring through the police academy. He spent time working on our problem-oriented policing, which was an older unit within our detective division. Then he was a detective, where he's a person crime detective. Got promoted to sergeant, where he has spent time as the administrative sergeant, patrol sergeant, and was the detective sergeant before being promoted in mid-July, July 16th. And let's see here, he's a member of the South Davis Metro SWAT team, where he is an assistant team leader. He's has a college degree, bachelor's degree from Columbia College in criminal justice administration. And some of the criteria we used to grade him on during the lieutenant promotional process was once again a brutal employee evaluation, which is we consider years of supervisory experience, education, and then we consider the number of supervisory specific training that they received. He goes through a panel interview where they grade him, And then, once again, there are chief points. And at the end of that process, he was selected to be our lieutenant. So tonight, he's asked his daughter, Bailey, to pin on his lieutenant badge. So, once again, if you want to step off.
I'm gonna go for a scout head. Congratulations.
Thanks, Elton. All right, does council, mayor, do you guys have any questions on our promotional process or the, for either Sergeant McWilliams or Lieutenant Barnes? Okay.
I would just make one comment, Chief. I've noticed, seeing Bailey, right? Pin that on her dad. She was here working hard, serving food at Chief Child's retirement along with her mom. And I've seen that from all of your families within the department. I'm just really impressed how you involve the families as well too. That's really meaningful and important. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody that came and joined us. These type of events are always nice, so thanks so much. All right, let's move on. So I'm going to introduce this one because this is Wasatch Integrated Waste Management. It's here tonight. I'll let them introduce themselves, but as you know, I'm our board representative at Wasatch Integrated, and I've been attempting to report back to you on the going-ons up there, but I was talking with Brent. I said, we need to invite Nathan and his staff down to go into more detail what I've described to you and we've talked about. So, and I noticed you have a nice presentation here, so. Nathan, introduce yourself. And
thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We appreciate the opportunity to come. It seems like it's not often enough that we get around to see cities, so it's nice to be here in Centerville. I have a couple members of my staff. I'm Nathan Rich. I'm the executive director. Preston Lee is our operations manager, and Colette West is our sustainability specialist. So I am going to try to move pretty fast, but when we get the opportunity to come, I want to give you a little primer on the district and a reminder of what we do at large and a little perspective of where we are with solid waste. So it's your job to solve tree issues, and it's our job to think about solid waste. So as Clark mentioned, we are a special service district. Oh, and before I forget, we actually turned 40 this year. Now, I haven't been here the entire 40 years, but we turned 40 in September, and we are going to hold an open house November 15th. We're currently doing some updates to the material recovery facility, and it's been a few years since city councils have been through the facility. It's been about 4 years since we did major improvements in 2024. So I invite you to set up a time and come on a tour of that facility. And on the 15th, we'll have an open house. It'll be an opportunity to see it then as well if you're interested. So look for that information. Clark, we're a special service district. We're owned by Davis and Morgan counties and the 15 cities within those counties. So essentially, the two counties, with the exception of Bountiful, continues to operate the Bountiful landfill. We handle about 340,000 tons per year of solid waste, and we serve about as many residents. So if you can do that quick math, you'll understand that each of us generates about a ton of municipal solid waste per year, and it's our job to figure out the best way to handle that material. We want it to disappear from your curb and minimize the environmental impact of that waste we all generate. We currently do that with 73 full-time employees, and I answer to a 19-member administrative control board. Your representative on that board is Mayor Wilkinson. So our name is Wasatch Integrated Waste Management District, and I realize that sounds long, but it did used to be Davis County Solid Waste Management and Energy Recovery Special Service District. So it's a slight improvement, but the integrated really refers to, this is a graphical representation of the EPA's solid waste management hierarchy. So most preferred way to handle solid waste to least preferred, and this is from an environmental perspective. The 3 R's above, reduce, reuse, and now recycle. The district is moving into that arena. A lot of that happens before the material comes to us. And then recover the energy from material before you put it in the landfill. And although landfill is the least preferred method of disposing of solid waste, it actually is still very important that the landfill you operate is environmentally sound landfill, like the one we operate in Davis County, to make sure it's protecting groundwater and protecting air quality. But we know that there are better things we can do with our waste. So I think of the integrated waste management approach as being kind of a puzzle, and there's different pieces. There's no one size fits all. There's no prescriptive, this is how you should handle your solid waste, because waste is local. Waste depends on local politics. It depends on what kind of trees you plant in your park strips. And that's true. A lot of communities that I visited have no green waste in their waste because it's been banned from their waste. So regulations, mandates. The reason the waste to energy facility operated where it did next to Hill Air Force Base for 30 years was because we had the Air Force Base as a large energy customer. So it's about taking advantage of the things you can do that are reasonable at the same time. This is a photograph of some recycles sorted out of, I believe it was a Farmington load, so close to Centerville. And I like this picture because I think it's a good way to represent that. And I don't know if there's anything you see missing from this picture of cans. And this looks like no other load of recyclables in the nation because there's only 2 beer cans in that entire picture. So actually our waste has a different makeup, and it actually changes even from community to community. So very quickly, this is the integrated system that we operate. Right now, the foundation of that system is our Davis landfill that's located in Layton. A big part of that facility, and this is currently the largest part of our recycling program, is our green waste recycling and composting facility. We divert about 25,000 tons of waste through this facility a year. It's a good example of upcycling. We take something of no value and turn it into value. We provide citizen drop-off and recycling services at the landfill. We now do upwards of about 2,000 transactions a day on a busy Saturday. So I know the further south we get, the less we see of your residents, but we're there when you need us, when you want to come up and drop off your household hazardous waste. We also provide free drop-off of electronic waste. We make sure that those materials get disposed of appropriately. A more recent project we have is our landfill thrift store. So we actually actively pull usable material out of the waste that's delivered. We don't divert a lot of waste through this program, but it's it's an excellent educational opportunity to help people understand how much of a throwaway society we are. As waste decays in the landfill, it generates an explosive gas. It's about 50% methane. We have a methane landfill gas to energy project that's been operational for just about 20 years. We generate about 2.5 megawatts of electricity with some generators on Hill Air Force Base. So this, kind of another piece of taking something that's an environmental health and safety liability and turning it into something useful for us. The most recent piece of our facility is our new material recovery and transfer facility, and I say new, realizing that it's already 4 years old. That facility came online in 2000, and we do two things with this facility. First one is we have the ability to process commingled recyclables, so that's the material recovery part. So your blue cans get delivered to us, we separate those materials, and the ones that we can get to market go to market. The other thing that it does is we now use that to transfer waste out of the facility. So about a third of the waste that's coming to us now, we put in large trucks and we haul it over 100 miles and dispose of that right now actually out on the Skull Valley Reservation at the Tecoy landfill. So I just mentioned the waste to energy facility because we are really still adjusting to a system that changed when we closed the energy recovery facility after 30 years of operation. We basically lost about 125,000 tons per year of waste disposal capacity. The facility did a great job. The system misses the facility, but it had reached the end of its useful life, so the time came to close that facility. So a few years ago, when we closed that facility, we went through a process. We hired some consultants to lead us through the process and say, how is the system changing? The closure of the energy recovery facility shortened the life of the landfill from about 28 years to about 18 years. And we're dealing with, of course, increasing population, increasing waste generation rates, and we know that our system is going to transition toward a transfer system because we have limited capacity, fixed capacity of the Davis landfill. This is a graphical representation. The yellow line is total waste delivered to the system. And you can see this is really interesting. It's exacerbated by, in 2018 and 2019, across 3 years, 2018 through 2020, we saw almost a 20% increase in the amount of waste coming into our system. And we attributed part of that to COVID. We thought that that would be a bump, but the numbers are still pretty strong. So we have more waste coming into the system. The red is the waste to energy facility, and it faithfully processed about 125,000 tons per year. You can see as that facility came offline, the bright blue line is what we put in the Davis landfill. So you can see how that consumes the existing life of the Davis landfill. So the question is, as we got into it, how long do we want that landfill to last? Do we want to fill it full and run into a wall and deal with that change? Do we want to extend the life of it and go through the transition a little bit easier? And how do we honor our mission statement? That's actually missing from this presentation, isn't it? How did that happen? We have different versions, but we talk a lot in our mission about treating waste like a resource and trying to do something better than just put our waste into a landfill. So that process was led by GBB. We started that in 2001. We had an advisory committee of the board sit on that process, and we went through, we identified potential scenarios, evaluated the economics of those. We did a survey of residents, and then there were a series of recommendations that were adopted by the board. Now, this plan's available on our website, and it's very long, but there's a couple of key sections. The recommendations and conclusions might be interesting. So we decided a couple of things, and the first one is the material recovery facility was designed and operated 4 years ago to actually process raw municipal solid waste and pull the recyclables from it, understanding that we felt like we had reliable partners where we could generate non-recyclable plastics and paper and use it as an engineered fuel feedstock. And also the new anaerobic digester in North Salt Lake was prepared to take the organic material. Both of those offtake partners really didn't pan out for us. So we were successfully processing the waste, pulling recyclables, but the cost was very high because we weren't achieving our diversion goals. The engineer fuel and the organics were going right back in the garbage. So the first thing we said was, let's stop processing waste, it's too expensive. The second thing we said is, not completely arbitrarily, but realizing there was a path to get there, we wanted to add about 10 years of life to the Davis landfill. We wanted to take it from 10 years to about 18 years. So there's two ways to get the landfill to last longer. One is transfer more waste, and the other one is to take more material and divert it from being waste. So the two ways we do that is through recycling, and then there's some minor pieces to the plan that reach out into the future a little bit. We'll need to add a second transfer station at the Davis landfill before the landfill reaches capacity. So we spent a while talking about how to best implement this robust curbside recycling. And about a year ago, the board approved a way forward after some city manager meetings. This is what we know about residential curbside recycling. In Davis County, not all cities have curbside recycling. It's been something that cities have pursued unilaterally, and we feel like it's something that we would like to see all cities pursue. You can see Centerville is one of those cities that does provide recycling services, and they have a nice program. Actually, Centerville has about 93% of their residents participate in the curbside blue can program. But we find the programs are hit and miss in terms of how they're structured. So we have rolled out with initially a mandate that would have required cities to implement bundled program, which meant you give your residents one price, and it includes a recycling can and a garbage can. We got a lot of pushback from some cities about that approach, so we've modified that now to a recycling incentive, and we're providing a reduction on the first can rate that's calculable from the amount of waste that the city diverts out of their black can through either their blue or green can. So this is a graphical representation of the diversion our cities achieve through their recycling programs. We believe that we can divert about 30% or up to about 30% of the residential waste generated by cities through a combination of the blue can and a green can. And that's a substantial amount of material. And it's not just extending the life of the current landfill, it's really about avoiding waste going into a future landfill and avoiding the cost of transportation of that waste. If we don't have to transport it, we're avoiding that substantial transportation and disposal cost. So you can see Centerville over there is, looks like you're about fourth highest. Actually, the blue can, you're doing very well. And we want to bring some of those other cities along, and that's kind of the program that we're still making some minor changes to with the board. But I think we've taken something that was perceived pretty negatively by some cities and turned it around to where it's positive, hopefully received positively. We recommend a bundled service, and I think this is still something that I'm encouraging cities to look at. The reason bundled is if you're going to put a service in place bundled, it's efficient because the more people participate, the lower your unit cost is because the hauler doesn't have to stop as often. It's going to be more effective, and then it has the longevity. We've had a couple of cities that did nice rollout programs 10 years ago, opt-out programs, and then they didn't require new move-ins to get cans, and their participation rates trailed off. In Sunset, they've trailed off to about 30% participation. So bundled program takes care of that. It keeps city staff from having to explain to people why they have to have a recycling can. So that's still something to consider. Opt-out program is what Centerville has. and that works well. So the diversion incentive is basically something that we're calculating on a 12-month rolling total, just to try to keep it from bouncing around too much month over month. The green waste numbers actually get very large in the summer, and the recycling maintains sort of a little more consistent through the year. And we're seeing some communities with recycle diversion incentives up to about $1.60 off of that $7.20 that we charge for that first household can. So, well, this is a calculation. We're just kind of working through that. So, Colette is going to take it from here. Thank you.
All right. Well, my name's Colette West, the Sustainability Specialist. Thank you guys for having us tonight. So I'm gonna.
1 second. Where did you grow up?
Oh yeah, I grew up in Centerville,
There
so
we go,
I'm
baby.
really excited to present here tonight. And
Great to have you here. And her dad's
thank you.
here too.
Yeah, my dad is here. I have to say I'm really proud of my parents now working for Wasatch Integrated, that they've always had a green waste can and a recycling can and that they've used it. So I appreciate their efforts. So I'm going to go over how Centerville is doing with kind of where you guys are at with the recycling program and the green waste program, and how you guys can improve, and how we're going to help with education. So kind of went over 90% of your residents have recycling or blue can cart. If you guys wanted to bundle that, you could get it to 100%. We are working, I'll go over a little bit later, with the Recycling Partnership, who has a grant that can help fund some of those carts if you want those few hundred more carts. 31% of your residents have a green waste can. That equates to about 11% diversion. You can see that green waste is heavier by volume, though. They could be similar. I'm sure some of you guys have a recycling can. I'm sure you have issues with filling it all the way to the top before that, every other week pickup comes. But there is definitely opportunity to expand the green waste program. You guys could kind of do another rollout. It still can be optional, though. The green waste programs are doesn't matter if it's optional or opt-out to mandatory, it counts as an incentive right away. So the 30% of residents you have with a green waste can, you're getting that incentive back. And then, so that equates to the 140 diversion incentive. And then we kind of already went over how you guys can improve. So bundling the recycling program, giving a can to everyone, just making it one price, and then expanding the green waste program, still keeping that optional. What some cities have done in the past is they'll just roll out one neighborhood at a time, just give it to each household and see who opts out, and then just roll it into the next neighborhood. I believe in the past you guys kind of just did a full subscription, didn't roll out to any, from my understanding. So that's a way to kind of get up to 50-60% participation in that. Green waste, Kaysville diverts 17% on average through their green waste program with 54% diversion. So you can see how you can get another 5 to 10% incentive through expanding the green waste program. And I'm going to talk about how we can get higher diversion rates through the recycling program. So first I kind of want to cover kind of why are we recycling? Why can't we just put everything in the landfill? So if you've heard of circular economy, it's kind of a buzzword right now because there are a lot of social, environmental, and economic benefits to implementing a circular economy. However, only 7% of our global economy is circular. So kind of right now, especially our economy in Davis and Morgan County, we're kind of in between the linear and recycling economy. You kind of saw only about 50% of single-family homes have a recycling can. A linear economy is a take-make-waste system. It's not very resilient, relies heavily on raw materials, and everything just goes into the landfill, and you're bearing a lot of value there, bearing a lot of resources. A recycling economy, where you're kind of capturing some things, diverting some things out of the waste stream. However, when we recycle some materials, they can sometimes still end up in the landfill, partly due to the design. So with a circular economy, it takes kind of a full transition from manufacturers and corporations designing better products, but it also would equate to a lot less waste even coming to waste management systems. So right now with a linear economy, it puts a lot of burden on governments and waste management cities because corporations are just kind of designing poorly designed products, aren't taking responsibility for the waste, all ends up at a waste management system. So with the circular economy, there's a lot more actions besides recycling and composting. So there's remanufacturing, reusing, repairing. So like when you give your cell phone back when you get a new phone, they're gonna remanufacture those parts into just as good of a new phone. So more programs like that can help us see less waste to begin with, and then keep more waste out of the landfill. And really the goal of the circular economy is to eliminate waste and pollution completely. Circulate products at their highest value. So we definitely want to choose materials like aluminum, glass, steel, things like that we can recycle over and over again without them losing quality and ending up in a landfill even after we recycle them a couple times. And regenerating nature. So our composting program, the green waste program you guys have is a great example of that. Upcycling, making something of no value into something that people want to buy. So economic-wise, a global or circular economy could help add 4.5 global additional economic output by 2030 and 25 trillion by 2050. That was something Goldman Sachs found. This graphic on the right was a study done just for Utah. This looks at just expanding recycling. So, you can really see so this study found that if we increase our recycling packaging up to 65%, so we're not even at 65% of just single-use packaging, recycling that, and up to 90% for beverage containers. So if we get up to those percentages, these are the economic benefits, and it really equates to a lot more jobs and reduction in greenhouse gas, the negative impacts. So we're working with the Recycling Partnership. They're a nonprofit that their goal is to advance the circular economy by building a better recycling system. And so they do that by helping expand residential multifamily recycling programs nationwide. And they're helping us fund new carts. So they're giving any city who goes to a bundled program $15 towards any new cart. And then for our cities who don't have a program, they'll even fund, if they do an opt-out, $10 per cart or bundled, similar situation. And they're also giving some money to the district for education. So if you guys wanted to move to a universal or bundled program, you'd get that $15 towards each cart. And then we would help with all that educational needs with that. So if that extra 10%, if you wanted to roll carts out to them, we would send out a flyer, something similar to this on the right, letting them know that their cart is coming. And then to all your current residents, we're working on this right now. We're working on a lot of educational material to get out to them later this fall. So we have developed a recycling signage, which I'll go over here in just a minute, that tells the residents exactly what they can put in the cart. We're going to get some educational material in the home as well, because that's when you're doing the sorting. And this would also go out to any new residents as well. And I'm going to connect with your website and social media people, get your website updated, connect to our website. We have developed a really good recycling education webpage. And we're also posting a lot of fun things on social media, on our Instagram and Facebook as well, educational stuff. And so the Recycling Partnership have done quite a few studies on education and access. So they have found that 75% of Americans don't recall receiving any communication from their local program in the past year. But they found for those that did remember communication from their program, they were happier with their service. They recycled more, and they believed that their recyclables were actually being made into new things. So it's kind of our goal to make sure that we're touching base with our residents, a couple times a year, getting good education out there so they really understand what's happening to their waste and their recycling, and that they feel confident in their sorting abilities and things like that. And they've also found that 76% of recyclables are lost at the household level due to lack of access and recycling education from their local program. So I think you guys could even get your recycling diversion rate even higher once we get some education out there, because residents will really understand what they can put in the can. Just from working here within less than a year, I've met multiple people that didn't know that you could put, certain things in the can that we have a lot of. So I think it'll be really great to get some of this education out to your residents, and you'll see hopefully a little bit increase in your diversion incentive.
Do you do education in schools as well, kids?
So that's a great question. We actually take almost all the 5th grade classes in the district through our landfill, composting, and our material recovery facility. So they see it all, which is super fun. We've been doing that for a while, and we're growing that program every year, getting more classes and schools through. So, but we're always happy to come to any events. Like Woods Cross this summer had a summer literacy program. And so we went and taught kids from, little toddlers to, middle school age. So if you guys have kid events, we're happy to come and teach them about recycling. So any city events, we're happy to come to as well. So this is our recycling signage that we've developed. So the big 5 that you really can probably recycle mainly throughout the nation are aluminum and steel cans, plastics number 1 and 2, which are your plastic water bottles, detergent jugs, milk jugs, and then paper and cardboard. So we capture all of those materials and sell them to the market. But we also tell our residents, and through the signage, hey, throw in any really clean plastic containers and even plastic bags, because those are some of the materials that we can send up to the cement kiln that Nathan mentioned earlier to use as engineered fuel instead of pet coke or coal. So another great way to keep some of those materials out of the landfill. And then we just have some really simple education on there. They don't need to be super clean, they just need to be empty, flattened, thrown in there. And then on the bottom here, we have education on just what you shouldn't put in the can. So we don't want the recyclables bagged because that way our machines can't sort them out. And we'd love to show you guys how our machine works. So come on November 15th, it's super cool to watch everything get sorted. And then we don't want any food or liquid in there, or tanglers. They can wrap around equipment, mess up the process. And then we don't take glass, but I know Momentum offers curbside glass recycling for residents in Centerville. And I've kind of heard also that you guys might be getting a public drop-off. I'm not sure, but that would be great. I'd love to see one more on the south end of Davis County. We have one as well, a couple in Kaysville and Farmington. And then we don't want any clothing in there. But batteries and electronics, we can recycle at next to our thrift store where household hazardous waste and e-waste recycling drop-off are, free to any residents. But we have a QR code that will link to our webpage. And on that webpage, you can find other drop-offs. So I know probably Centerville residents don't want to drive up to drop off some batteries. So Lowe's, Home Depot, we have some other resources on there where residents can find some more recycling info, so a lot more detailed information. But to kind of just go back to the hierarchy of waste, we definitely want to get recycling education out there and expand recycling access. And if you guys want to look into multifamily as well, I'm happy to look into that as well with you. The Recycling Partnership has multifamily grants, and I have a bunch of multifamily ordinances that I can send you examples of as well from them. And Salt Lake, they have Salt Lakes as well.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I've always gotten mixed messages about pizza boxes, if they have pizza grease in them, because almost all the pizza boxes say recycle on them. But then I've been told if they're greasy, then you can't recycle them.
Yes, that is a great question. We get that one all the time. So we like to say rip off the top if there is grease on the bottom where the pizza was. If there's no grease, if there's a liner, throw it in. It's like your cardboard boxes, so they are recyclable. So, but if there's a bunch of pizza and cheese, rip off the top. Otherwise, you can throw it in.
Thank you.
But so we want to also educate residents on how to reuse and reduce their waste. As you saw, our waste per person has gone up in the past few years, and so we have some great education as well on that webpage on how to reduce and reuse. So to just kind of end, to give you guys a visualize of the impact of just reusing something multiple times compared to single use, I just have a video to end the presentation, and then we're open for questions. So I don't know if you can pull that video up now.
I think this will play.
guys so much for your time and letting us tell you about what we deal with every day, all the trash. But we're happy to take any questions that you may have.
We get there from Preston at all? No. Okay.
He's here for moral support.
In case things get a little bit crazy, I have to step in.
Questions before I make a statement? Do you have any? Okay, I wanted to bring these people, fine people down from Wasatch Gray Waste Management, because I don't think we've had them. There, have we? It's a long time. But because I appreciate all they do, we went through this big controversial vote, and it was controversial. It started about a year ago. It was almost pretty much unanimous that we were going straight to, correct me if I'm wrong, a bundle program, right? And there was some pushback from some cities. As you can see, there's 10 cities from this screen that have recycling programs. So that means there's, I guess Bountiful that would be 4. That wouldn't 5 total, because we do have 15 cities. So there's a lot of people on the board that suffered some serious pushback from their various city councils and whatnot. But so we went to a vote again, and we came up with the program that we have presently, where you have the opt-out or the bundled with the diversion incentive. And I even had Nathan and us as executive board say we probably came up with a better solution for the time being than what was there. And there was a close vote, the last one, 10-8 or something like that, I think. So it was tight. But the board spent a lot of hours on it, much like we have on a couple issues, like one tonight. But we're thinking that through good discussion that we came up with a really good program. I've told you some about it, but I wanted to have you, all of you hear it from the Wasatch Integrated Waste Management officials. But it was always a surprise to me when we started voting on it, because it seems like we've had blue cans forever, and I just thought everybody had it, you know. And you could see the participation rate, as Nathan said, we're one of the best. And so I just thought everybody had that. So, but it was quite controversial in some areas. But great presentation, and thanks for what you said. It sounds like Nathan, you have something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again for having. I think we'll get there, just not quite as quickly as we were. But I think the incentive is certainly received a lot better. And Brant, I just want to let you know that this new calculation of the recycling incentive, because our last vote made it effective immediately. So cities that that have good programs will start seeing some relief on their bill immediately. You'll see that. You'll see an email from Adam Hacker, the accountant, and feel free to call with questions. We'll walk you through how we're calculating that. And then I just wanted to clarify on the green waste program. The green waste programs that we've called opt-out programs are not mandatory in any way, but we find in cities where we rolled them out and we gave everyone a can and made them call if they didn't want the can, we have participation rates that are a little above 50%. Centerville felt like that was a little bit heavy-handed, and this has been, 10, 12 years ago. So they rolled out a subscription program and got to about 30%. So there's still a potential option there that doesn't have a lot of political risk to expand that green waste program. And again, green waste is good recycling, and it's really interesting to see how much weight goes in the green waste can. So.
I hadn't realized not everybody has green cans. We've had green cans forever. I just thought everybody did.
Yeah, we have green cans in I want to say 7 of our cities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have some level of blue cans in about 10 of the cities. So we still have a number of cities, and some of the larger cities that really aren't helping us with that diversion piece much at all. So we thought we'd chip in and push them a little bit.
So did I miss it, or did you say stay silent on the question of how much longer our waste facility would last if it's a hard stop and there's not a transit.
So if we stopped, so to be clear, we're extending the life of the landfill substantially just by transferring the waste.
Correct.
So it comes into the facility, we pick it up and put it in a truck. If we weren't doing that, it's like 8 years.
And how many acres is the current landfill? Just the landfill, not the other facilities?
So the landfill within Liner,
100 acres.
100?
Well, that includes the online cell.
yeah,
Yeah,
So-
so there's 100.
A replacement location, in theory, needs to be approximately 100 acres.
no, a replacement location in theory would need to be, you'd want to go much larger because you don't want neighbors. And the bigger hurdle in theory is it won't be located in Davis County, and it won't be located in Morgan County. And I spent 10 years trying to locate one in Box Elder County with no luck. We do own a quarter of a facility in South Utah County. It's a great facility. It's the Bayview landfill. It's actually on state trust land. It's on about a section and a half, so it's on about 650 acres. And there is 100-year capacity for the 4 entities that own that facility. The problem with it is it's 125 miles away, and the cost of transportation is substantial. So,
Okay, thanks.
Where did you say that the regional transfer facility was located?
so we built a transfer station where the waste energy facility was. So we built our material recovery facility and transfer station, and that's just east of the runway at Hill Air Force Base. And then the landfill is about a mile and a half east of that, and we'll have to build a second transfer station. In about 10 years, we'll start working on that facility so that it's operational before the landfill runs all the way out of space.
So currently, all of our trash is being buried somewhere or recycled or taken care of somewhere in Davis County.
Well, no, we're transferring a third of that waste. Well, its first stop will be in Davis County. But right now, when we transfer the waste, it's currently going to Waste Management's landfill on the Skull Valley Reservation. And then we believe we'll be transitioning toward the Bayview landfill facility for long-term disposal.
That's what I thought I heard you
Yeah.
say. I will admit it went through my mind. So we're taking all of our residents' trash and putting it on somebody else's property.
We are.
I mean, that
It's an
troubles
issue.
me. That
Yeah.
troubles me.
It doesn't trouble you as much as the people that you go to and tell them you want to do that to them.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. I'm absolutely sure that's true.
If that made sense.
No, I very much believe that. I mean, I don't know that there is an alternative for us, but
So
It's troubling.
the one thing I will say about the facility that we're co-owners in now is it was a large landfill. It was owned by a special service district in Utah County, and we went through years, and their board got past this mindset that we wanted to preserve our capacity for just us, to say, look, we have plenty of capacity, and we bought that facility in 2017. At that time, their disposal rate they were charging themselves was $28 a ton because it wasn't a very big landfill. And we've operated that landfill at $10.50 a ton because the rest of Utah County is going into that facility and we'll start going in. So we are lowering their cost by sending them more garbage their way, if that's some consolation, I suppose.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Colette. Thanks, Preston. Appreciate you guys coming down for the presentation. So.
We have a gripping agenda,
Well safe, thanks. All right, let's move on. Let's go on to Certificate of Achievements for Excellence in Financial Reporting. I want Nathan to come up front. You got anybody else you brought with you? Just you? Okay.
Geez, I thought you'd bring like family and the whole, accounting staff.
You didn't fly anybody in or anything?
I would have loved to have my staff here, but make them sit through a little bit.
You didn't want to pay him?
No.
In your material, you'll see a certificate of achievements for excellence in financial reporting presented to Centerville City Corporation, Utah, for its annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2023, and a letter to the mayor's office. We're pleased to notify you that your annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2023 qualifies for GFOA's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Their Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in government accounting and financial reporting. Its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by government's management. When a Certificate of Achievement is awarded to a government, an award of financial reporting achievement, AFRA, is also presented to the individual or individuals or department designated by the government as primarily responsible for its having earned the certificate. This award has been sent to the submitter as designated on the application. It says, I hope we'll arrange for a formal presentation. That's what we're doing here. So, how many years now running do we, Nathan, are we looking at?
It was number 24.
Awesome.
Yep.
And let's explain to us what the GFOA is.
The GFOA is the Government Finance Officers Association. So it's comprised of thousands of government finance officers like myself. And they help us understand the laws and rules of accounting for governments.
Great. Anything else you want to say?
I just want to recognize my staff. We have an awesome staff here at Centerville City. They do a great job. They've been through a lot this last little bit, especially being shorthanded. But I can't say enough good things about them. They've handled themselves amazing and have stepped in and filled in where needed. And yeah, they're just awesome.
Thank you. Congratulations.
And Mayor, I would say that it just gives me so much confidence to be able to communicate with our residents and tell them about these types of achievements, as well as telling them, yeah, go reference our budget. Tell me what you would take away or add to that. And once I've said that, there's silence. So,
Yep. I've sit through our budget discussions that we so diligently do for many days, so that's awesome. All right, let's go to municipal code amendments. This is a residency requirement, the chief of police. Which one of you want to give us some background on it?
You got it, Mayor.
I'm just kidding.
I'll do it.
Go ahead, not Lisa.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, we have before you an ordinance amending our municipal code to add a residency requirement for the chief of police position. I think this came to our attention during the recruitment process for chief of police. And we have a residency requirement for the city manager, and it's this same language that the city manager shall live within a reasonable distance, driving distance from the city. And so we thought that this would be a good example and consistency to put for the chief of police as well. I believe these two positions do require, emergency response and access, and so we want something reasonable. I think that the language is sufficient, in my mind. A half hour is reasonable, over an hour, maybe not so reasonable, but it gives us that discretion and also assists with the hiring and filling of these positions. So staff's recommending approval of this ordinance 2024-11, adding the residency requirement for the chief of police.
So Lisa, my thought was, reasonable language gives you some flexibility. I know for some physicians who are employed at certain hospitals, you have to be within a drive, not a mile distance, it's a drive time distance. So I'm not saying that I'm opposed to this, I'm just saying that there are other alternatives out there. I'm I'm okay with this, but.
Yeah, and this says reasonable driving distance, so yeah, not driving time, but distance, driving distance.
Yeah.
So it, yeah, if you live, as the
And
crow
I think
flies,
once
you
you
have to
say
go all the way
reasonable, it
around.
doesn't matter if you say time or distance, but.
Yeah.
Who
Did you
decides-
consider that, though? Actually putting a actual number
A
in there
time,
for
yeah, but it's
drive
difficult because
time
if
or
there's an
drive distance?
accident on the free, I mean, I guess you could say, yeah, the, non-traffic time, but.
Yeah.
That's why I think reasonable driving distance is better than time because, yeah, time could vary depending on the time of day, but distance helps us, keep it reasonable.
Yeah.
Who determines what is reasonable?
On this,
I think the council would decide on this because it's appointment by the mayor. So I think there would be, in this situation, mayor would determine with advice, I guess. That's what I would think.
Is there a reason that we don't specifically say maintain within a reasonable driving distance of the city, comma, as determined in the good faith discretion of, and then insert one of us to make that determination? My concern would be, what if you have somebody who applies and they're 45 minutes outside? We say, no, we're going to reject you because that's not reasonable. Would that give them some kind of a cause of action against us if the courts determined that reasonable 45 minutes was okay? But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering,
Well-
can we bolster our language to give us the ability to determine what is reasonable?
yeah, and I probably would want, I mean, I want a consistent interpretation,
What makes this tough is there is actually a case of a city manager being forced to live within a city, and the market crashed. And the city forced them to live in the city, and they didn't make it, so they sued the city and prevailed. This is a case that was presented to us city managers. That's the challenge when you have such strict requirements,
Sure.
that it could, just like you're saying, so if you create reasonable, I think there's some wiggle room there, but you're wanting hard and fast.
All I think,
No, I
no,
don't.
she's,
but I think the
Why not?
court could determine anyway, I mean,
I
whether
think-
it's the
Yeah.
city manager.
Shayla's
or
talking
the
about
city council.
who is the party that defines
Correct.
reasonableness.
Sure.
I mean, Lisa, I'm looking at this one like I would a contract, right? Like I get to terminate my employee, comma, within my discretion, right? So I'm just wondering, can we build something into this? And maybe that's not appropriate into this type of ordinance. But my thought was to define us, mayor, city, whoever, right, council, as being the person that gets to make the reasonableness determination. So it's not just completely open-ended.
Yeah. I would probably say the city council, just so it's a.
That's what I would think too. The mayor counts as appointment by the mayor.
Yeah.
So that would be it's
But
the
I'd
same
rather
city
have it-
manager as well.
Yeah,
Then I would suggest that we should maintain residence with a reasonable driving distance of the city, comma, as determined by the city council. Yeah, that was my one lawyer thought.
okay.
In a previous city I worked for, there was a requirement that all police officers live within the city. And because that argument is that you're on call between 1 and 7 in the morning. But I said that's unreasonable. You could
Yeah.
live literally right next to the boundary and still respond quicker than the guy who lives on the other side of town, right? Even in
Yes.
city limits. So we did change ours to a 15-minute, or a 15-mile. We did create a mile.
And I'm actually okay leaving reasonable without it being
Yeah.
defined, because I think that it does give us the flexibility, and we can change based on changing circumstances, but I like giving us the official authority to make that determination, so a court doesn't step in and say, well, no, we get to make the reasonableness determination, not you, city council.
Agreed.
I like that suggestion.
And we'll be having this conversation with our South Davis fire chief, in my opinion, too, Mayor. We don't have a residency requirement for our fire chief.
Yeah.
That's a conversation we need to have with them as we went through this recruitment. Because they could live in Harriman and may not need to relocate. Sandy City has requirement they live within the city. It's a large city though, so you have options. Anyway, it's kind of interesting, this discussion.
Yeah, and I think even, with the housing market, it's difficult to require residency within the city. I think that's more problematic from a legal standpoint in my mind.
But that's what I was thinking from an economic standpoint,
Yeah.
because you may set up a situation where do you have to have a compensation measure along with a residency measure?
Summit County has an interesting one where they'll provide you a home within Summit County or a $3,000 a month stipend to live within the county. It's kind of, just when you have those,
Position?
for the county manager. And, yeah, it's kind of crazy. But anyway, when you have those type of restrictions, Park City, same thing, they provide a condo.
Lisa, if
Saying
we're,
Centerville's anything like Park City here, but I'm just saying there's usually something, compensation package associated with some of these stricter.
I like leaving their flexibility too, because you never know, it used to be that it might take a long time to get from West Catesville to here. And now we have the West Davis corridor,
Yeah.
right, which totally changes
Yeah.
how quickly you can get here. And
18
so
minutes either
it's
way
a-
to my home. It doesn't matter if there's traffic anymore, it's 18, it's crazy.
It's
awesome.
off-peak drive times. You do it like retailers view their customers, but that's okay.
West Davis Highway is great.
If we ultimately end up adopting it with the revised language that I've suggested, I would encourage us to consider making that change consistent with the city
Yes.
manager and any other position that requires that language just
Agreed.
for
That might
consistency.
require a different ordinance to
Yeah.
bring back, since we didn't necessarily advertise that change.
Further questions, staff on that?
Do you want me to make the motion? Yes. I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-11, amending CMC 3.01.130 to add a provision requiring the chief of police to maintain residents within a reasonable driving distance from the city as set forth in the proposed ordinance, with the one change to add that reasonable driving distance will be determined by the city council. And I will leave it to the city attorney to make that verbiage appropriate.
Second.
Motion is second, further discussion? Let's vote starting here to my right.
Aye.
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 That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, let's go to Land and Water Conservation Fund grant contract for pickleball courts community park. Yahoo! It's about 70 pages in your materials, if you look at it. It's a long document and grant, so.
I'll take it, Mayor.
Go ahead, Brent.
So as
Bruce isn't here to like celebrate and.
he's done too much celebrating that
Oh, okay.
he's
Oh, okay.
unavailable.
Celebrations that we have not seen.
So yes, we were finally awarded the grant, $400,000. It's matching grant, so we have to match it with $400,000. So the breakup between this grant is $250,000 for pickleball courts, $150,000 for playground and community park. So you'll see that one of the follow-up items, summary action. Although we did a bid award on April 2nd, we thought it'd be good. The contractor, we reached out and said, "Hey, are you still good with these bids?" Luckily, he said, "Yeah, I'll honor my bids," which is great. So I thought it'd be good just to bring it back and kind of ratify that bid award, just again, get that support. So the amount for the pickleball court, $799,285 was the bid, not including the alternates. So with that, that's what we need is approval here for the grant, so the mayor can sign the grant and we can get the money on its way and get started on these projects.
Just a reminder, did we increase the budget for the pickleball courts based on that April bid? You know, we were thinking 400 and 400,
Yes.
but really we need like 550 and.
Yes, so, well, and there was we actually only put in the budget $250,000 in the award of the grant, not four, so there's actually $150,000 in there of revenue that's not actually recognized in the budget yet, so.
Which will be used for the playground. Okay.
We had that as a budget item as expense, so we didn't recognize the 150 in revenue, so it's great. So we'll get that in the budget as well. So there'll be a budget amendment to increase those revenues. Also much, so yeah.
When Brent and I met here last week, we both concurred that this needs to be brought back to you as well too. I could have potentially signed the grant, but we waited for a while and I wanted it to come forth before all of you, so.
I did notice there was one tiny little typo in this agreement. The statement of work reference on page 3. Statement of work, item number 1. Go back up, let's see. It really might be page 2. Right there. Orem Community Park Improvement Project, that probably should say Centerville.
Oh, they must have done Orem.
That's like in ticky-tacky. I did do a search to make sure it didn't pop up anywhere else, but
Could not see
just
it.
so you know.
I think
I don't know, that's ticky-tacky. So thanks for catching that.
we'll see if we can get another $50,000 out of that mistake.
Yes, I like it.
See, and it bothers me that they put the in parentheses.
So you just need us to approve
Oh, don't do that.
the contract?
Essentially, so the mayor can sign and
Okay.
we can get going on it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the attached contract with the change that, the amended change aforementioned, relating to the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that has been awarded to the city for construction of pickleball courts and a playground in Community Park.
Second?
Motion is second. Further discussion? Start with Councilman Meekum.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
You're saying yes for the playground equipment, more so.
Passes 5-0. Thank you, everybody. Okay, let's go to.
I have a question. Do we know when they're gonna, I mean, are we gonna try and get it done this fall, or are we gonna wait till spring?
I actually don't know schedule at this point. I don't know.
October, I think is what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
Have it done by
Put it on the
October or
agenda.
start in October?
There was some planned, I just don't know exactly when, but October was a hope, so, to get started. I think we jokingly said by Thanksgiving it's ready to go or something like that. But turkey bowl, we're gonna replace turkey bowl with pickleball.
Yeah, replace, taking out that grass for turkey ball. It'll be pickleball ball. So, all right, should we move on? Let's go to summary
Wait,
act.
Mayor, I have one more question.
Yes.
Are we gonna take that grass out and put it in over here?
No. Have you ever tried to transplant grass? Because I have, and it's not good.
Well, if you cut it like sod, it's the same thing you lay.
It will be
is not-
cut by a
it is
skid
not-
steer,
It is not easy.
is my guess.
Well, and I
Not
was
by
gonna
a
say, we don't
sod
have any
cutter.
sprinkler system out there, right?
No, we don't have a sprinkler system. It's not a good time to plant right now. Bruce and I have talked about this, so.
But
there is-
October would be a good
There's
time.
going to be grass. What's that?
But October would be a good time to plant. That's when they tell you the best thing for sod.
For sod and trees, it's a good time to plant in October, it's true. So,
Just a thought, if we could
okay.
save the grass and,
I transplanted grass one time. You should see my yard has like 2 different species of grass in it. You can see the dividing, because I transplanted grass from the front yard to the backyard, so it's really fun to watch. This one's doing really well, and this one's So yeah, I don't know how much effort it would take to transplant that much grass. But we can talk about it. It's not a bad idea. I'll bring it up.
Keep the dust down.
Any other questions on that? All right, summary action. We have 3 items. The bid award for Public Works and Park Shop gate replacement, 28,960. Public Works street sweeping project, 61,600. And the bid award Community Park pickleball courts, 799,285. What questions do you have on those, if any? We got Mike. Yeah, Mike's still back there. Yeah, back there if you have a question for him.
I do have a question for Mike. Maybe I
Come on down,
missed
Mike.
it, but in the report you said that Jaquetta was the only applicant for the street sweeping, and you said the previous costs were attached, but I did not see them attached.
They just got attached this afternoon.
Okay, I can look at it really
Here they
quick
are.
then.
I should have Dave make this long walk. He knows more about it than I do. Because I wasn't at the bid opening, but we had 3 people that wanted to bid on it, but only 1 bid on it, so,
Okay. And it looks like we're bidding every couple of years.
yeah.
Did the other 2 bidders give a reason why they didn't submit one?
What's that?
Did the other bidders give a reason why they didn't submit?
No.
We benefit because they live here locally from their services that I would dare say they probably didn't bid because we're getting a heck of a deal. I mean, that's been, the great thing is we're so local that when the guys need some work to do, there's flexibility. We're flexible with their schedules, so we benefit financially from that.
We've
That
got a
just
good
mean, like-
relationship with them too.
I know it's been 4 years essentially since they probably would have bid, 3 technically, but 25% increase, so it's about, what,
It
6,
depends on what's out in the
6.5% or
market,
so.
right? I mean, whatever they can, if they've got a lot of other work going on, they want to be somewhere else, so.
They've treated us really well. And I'm not surprised nobody else bid, just because of the relationship we've
based-
established and the bids we get.
Based on the inflation,
That's what I'm saying, I'm kind of,
you feel like it's that's my question is, are you feeling like it's reasonable?
it seems on the upper end of it, but they could have got caught behind in previous years where they've been doing a solid, and then they're saying, okay, 3 years passed, they probably bid the 2021 job before things got really kind of crazy, and now they're saying, oh, we gotta kind of play catch up. That's my guess.
Yeah, you're kind of seeing this 10%, and then all of a sudden it went up
Yeah.
Yeah.
82%.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my supposition, I could be wrong, but
I kind of noticed that too, but then I thought, well, with inflation.
I've seen a
it's
lot
been-
of people trying to do the catch-up trade on the
Yeah.
inflation.
East Disposal, a few others.
Yeah, for sure.
Municipalities, ourselves.
Do you want me to make a motion?
Go for it.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve. Let's see, I'm starting with, I don't know if these are in order, but that we approve the replacement of the gate for the Public Works and Parks Department in the amount of $28,960. That we approve the bid award for Jaquetta Street Sweeping in the amount of $61,600, and that we approve the bid award for the Community Park Pickleball Courts in the amount of $799,285.
Have a second on that?
Second.
Have a second, further discussion? Councilman, Summers. Let's go to the right.
Aye.
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 Thank you, that passes unanimously. All right, we'll go to minutes. We have August 20th, work session, August 20th, city council, and August 20th, closed session. Any changes that you would like to be noted?
I have a question for all of us up here. So am I remembering correctly that our minutes are now being prepared by some AI program?
They're being prepared by me with the help of some AI program.
Okay, thank you.
Which AI program are you using?
I'm using, it's a new program called Clerk Minutes through HeyGov, where you can, it's made for government cities where you attach your agenda and your audio file. It kind of creates minutes for you.
I've used Otter AI, and that's more like a transcription than it is.
Yeah, I tried Otter AI for a little bit, and it was just riddled with mistakes, and
Was it?
so
Okay.
it was.
I found
making
mine
me
good. I actually transcribed one of our meetings just to see what it would be like, and it was pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I found that I was spending way more time trying to fix things in Otter AI.
Well, there's a
than I
transcription
was,
and there's a summary, right? So we don't,
Right.
so summarizing is where
Correct.
you get some,
And I went to transcription, not the summary.
yeah, summary is where you,
Closed session.
Here's the reason why I raised this issue. Because our public comments are summarized, what each individual resident said. There is absolutely no discussion about what the city council talked about after that extensive public comment. It looks like we had a whole bunch of people came up and they gave a lot of comment and we were like, let's just table it, we're done. And there's no reference to any of the discussion that we had. Now, and so the reason that I'm asking is everybody comfortable with that being in the minutes? Are we okay with people having to go and listen to the audio to hear what we said, or do we want our minutes to have at least some content of what we've discussed?
I would
The
like.
latter.
Yeah, I would definitely would rather have.
That's my
something.
personal.
Definitely, because I see Mayor Wilson closed the public hearing after all the comments from residents, and then Councilman Summerhays made a motion, but we
Right.
talked.
That didn't happen like
We talked
that.
for another hour after.
Right.
That is exactly my point. When I read these minutes, I was like, whoa, if anybody looked at these minutes, it would look
been-
like we didn't even care.
Yeah.
And so that caused me a little bit of concern. And that was not a
No,
criticism
and,
against you,
and
Jennifer.
I totally understand that, and I'm happy to go in and add some more content to what happened there. I mean, just so you all understand, as far as minutes go, the legal requirement of minutes doesn't even necessarily, like, we're not required to have like, the only thing that's required in minutes is the motions that were made and what the actual action was that was taken. Historically, we do have more substantial, explanations and information in our minutes. So since that is the way that we've done it in the past, I'm happy to continue to do that. And I probably should have added at least one more paragraph in there after that, but
Like, even
were
if it
really
was
long
just,
already.
like, we had extensive discussion and debate, right? I mean, just at
And it
least-
wouldn't hurt to say, Councilmember Meekham's thoughts were this, Councilmember Summerhays was this, Councilmember Hayes, depending on what the issue is, so that you can kind of,
Sure.
there's a record, Brant, you're like stewing
But
on
I'm
that,
just
like,
saying,
really, is that what you want,
I don't know if we necessarily
Spencer?
want to get to a point where we're, trying to speak for you, right?
Yeah.
So,
Right,
so
I
that
was gonna
summary
say
gets
that
a
worries
little,
me.
yeah, so that summary gets a little kind of,
And I will say today, a lot of the
discussion
public.
would be fine, just so if the public reads it, they're like, oh, they had a conversation. I do think this would have been a difficult one to summarize very well, just because it was very complex.
I will say that I think a lot of residents, including myself, if I miss a meeting, I love going to the YouTube channel, listening it at,
1.5 times at least.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I think a lot of people that care about a specific issue or care generally to listen will do that.
So from my perspective, I would even be okay with something as simple as following Mayor Wilkinson closing the public hearing, that the council engaged in
Spirited debate.
significant debate over this issue.
Lackluster debate. I'm kidding.
Now it's gonna be commentary.
About, you know,
I mean, I don't think that it has to be like super long, but when I read this, it sort of struck me like if I were a city resident, I would go, well, it sure looks like a lot of people came out to talk, and the city council was like, well, okay, let's close the meeting and let's just table it and move on, and I don't want to give that appearance.
No, this is great. So, I mean, this was the whole point as we transitioned to this. This is the feedback we wanted because we are transitioning something new. So this is very helpful. So
I would actually like a little bit more. I would have liked it, not for them to summarize what I said, but for them to pick a few things that each one of us did say, because over the years, when I've been interested in past city council meetings, or, I mean, sometimes 10, 15 years ago, I pull out those minutes to see, what I'm looking at, and that would not be there. So I think they're more important because I have looked up a lot of things through the years. And it didn't used to be when I started the council was the first year we went on YouTube. So, you had, the minutes were what you had. I just like being able to look up the minutes and kind of find out what's in them. If somebody wants to, in 10 years from now, find out what we thought, why, like you said, did we make the biggest mistake on trees? Well, at least let them know why we did what we did.
Okay, that was my only comment.
Take a stab at it,
It was more of
Jennifer.
No, that's great. I appreciate your feedback. And this is like my third time doing minutes, so.
This really was not a criticism of you.
No.
Like, I was
No,
wondering
it's
if
fine.
it was like the
I did not
AI
take
that-
any offense. It's totally fine.
Are we,
So you can, if you
having them
want,
brought back to us, or?
if
we-
you want, you can just table that set of minutes and I can bring them back next meeting and you can approve the additional paragraph I had or whatever.
Yeah, let's do
And you can approve the other sets. Unless you want to do it on all of them. It's totally up to you.
Oh, that sounds good.
You're saying, Jennifer, you're saying we could go ahead and approve the work session and the closed session and
Correct.
table city council minutes. I make a motion as such.
Second.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Curiosity question. Lisa, if you're keeping YouTubes and that thing forever, do we have to have written minutes still? Curiosity question.
Yes.
Okay.
You're talking about the,
I mean, or we're probably required.
Public records purposes.
Okay.
yeah, so, so by law, the summary is actually required permanent record. Transcriptions and all that are not.
You can get rid of those then.
Yes, so that summary is all that's
Okay.
left. To Councilmember Meekham's point. If you're reading minutes from 1974, these are the minutes that you're approving tonight, is the only thing officially.
Yeah, that you have to keep.
No transcription. Now, do we keep transcriptions or full, the audio recordings we keep, but we are not required to retain those.
right, so we may not keep, you have to do one or the, you have to have this summary, but we may not keep YouTube.
Right. I will say, I have heard of several cities that are going more the direction of, rather than having these lengthy written out minutes, they'll do timestamps of each
Yes,
item.
I like the
So
tandem.
that
I'd be
people
fine with
go
that.
through
Because if I'm a resident, it's easy to go
item,
to them.
You can just click on that timestamp and it'll take you to that portion of the discussion in
Because,
the audio
and it
recording.
may make it easier for you, Jennifer, because you could timestamp and say, Councilmember Hurst said, made references to this. And it could be just one sentence.
Or it
And then
could
it could
just
be,
be.
Councilmember Plummer said this.
I like that.
And there's a
Yeah.
timestamp.
If you guys are okay with me taking a new direction to our minutes and incorporating timestamps and simplifying our minutes even more, I am totally happy to do that.
Well,
How does Brant feel about that?
well, she's saying simplify it
You
more.
said,
I wouldn't mind trying that because I do think it is helpful to have that timestamp, just so that as you're, I mean, often when I go through like planning commission and I'm trying to, sometimes I don't want to listen to all of the items. It would be super nice to just be like, oh, I just need to go there so I can hear the discussion before I go to city council about this
So the
item.
question is, do we want our minutes simplified and time-stamped, or do we just want to add timestamp to
That's
what
what
we're
I was
already
getting at.
getting?
I'm saying, do you keep
I would,
this plus this timestamp? I was thinking
I would,
this with a little bit more information plus this timestamp, not timestamps replacing the
Yeah.
verbiage.
I'm worried about the time spent on it. If it's taking, I mean, I know we're trying to do this AI thing, which should hopefully reduce it,
Right.
generally
So
speaking.
hopefully we're not, hopefully we can get more for the same amount.
I do appreciate the summary of the minutes, like I find it to be extremely helpful, just as a reminder, you know, if I have to go back to a previous meeting, it is a little bit helpful. And probably timely to not have to listen to the whole meeting again.
I mean, just so you all know, this isn't required or in law or anything, but I have started timestamping all of the discussion items on our YouTube channel, so for each
Oh.
item, you can, I've just added chapters essentially, so you can jump to where
That's
you want.
great.
That's
I
not a
like that.
requirement, I just do that as a courtesy to me and to other staff
Well,
and
if you're doing
anybody
that,
who's looking, but.
that's probably fine
So,
for the timestamp
Like, if you
thing.
go and look at our last 4 months of meetings on YouTube, they're
And I
all
have noticed
timestamped.
that. It's great.
Okay. That's great.
Thank you. Council report. This week's prize winner is Councilmember Gina Hurst.
Okay, sewer district, they are moving forward on construction of the updated,
We should need a motion to table or approve
Oh.
what you're going to approve.
just kidding.
Didn't we already
We
vote?
voted on it,
Yeah, we voted.
Oh, I'm totally spacing, sorry.
yeah.
Carry on.
Okay,
I made the motion, Councilmember.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
And it was
he said it
unanimous.
really fast. He said something like,
Sorry, it was just, I was moving on it, so.
I guess I was just kind of
It was
processing.
unanimous ayes.
I lease it. My apologies.
okay, sewer district, they're moving forward on construction of the updated north plant. The first, it appears, from when I was out there last week, that they'll be constructing the new administration building first because they have to tear down the old one to, build the new parts of the sewer system. Just so you're aware, the costs are being covered by existing bonds that were used to cover the south plant, and there was some, I wasn't on the board of trustees at the time, so I don't know if they just bonded extra knowing they would start on the north plant immediately after, but they're still using the funds from that,
Did
so.
they refund to pull the money out of those bonds, like find better deals? Okay.
When we I think they did, Brant, actually. I don't think there was, I think they're, the bonds they have now they would love to keep forevermore. Their interest rate, they're very low. So, yeah, the new bonds won't be quite that nice. Anyway, when those expire, then they'll move forward with additional bonding. But as you noticed, rates did go up in July. Parks and Rec, they finished Movies in the Park program for the summer, and they are currently working, hopefully responding to Haley on top 3 picks for features for the new playground structure. So they're working on that. We'll see what they come up with. Jewel Creek the plan is that it will be shut down on October 15th. It doesn't appear that there's any shortages, so it will continue as historically pre-drought years.
Do you know when are they gonna, what's their plan to fix the reduction in pipe size that's affecting like Porter Walton Park and others? Like, when are they gonna actually get their infrastructure
I
figured
should
out?
have asked him that.
Okay.
Let me check on that. Porter Walton Park and.
It's just that whole zone, whatever it is, it's extremely compromised from a
Okay.
pressure standpoint.
There's also the one over here on 100 North and First East.
100 North and First East, okay. Okay, and then we've obviously had some complaints. I did ask him a little bit about, you know, the complaints about too much pressure in certain areas. The pressure is the same as it has been. They have not changed the level of the reservoir. So they did increase the pipe size, but that is not an issue. But there are obviously potentially homes that don't have pressure reduction valves. When you're in the upper part, you sometimes get a little more pressure as it moves down through the system, So anyway, if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to ask him. That's all I have for now, unless you guys have questions.
All right, anybody else with any urgent matters? Okay, mayor report. I have 3 things. First off, I was not able to make it because I was dealing with my foot, but we had a nice ceremony. I talked to one of our residents for Constitution Month at the Capitol at 10 a.m. last Thursday morning. She said it was pretty packed and it was a great event. So remember that this month is Constitution Month. And then the next thing is that the fire board got together and had some nice interviews and made a determination to hire Deputy Chief Greg Stewart as the next fire chief, and he will officially start 2 weeks from yesterday, I think it was. So Chief Stewart is a good man, and I think he'll do a good job, and they'll have to find there's 2 deputy chiefs, so they have to find a deputy chief to replace him, much like Chief Hackerson did with the lieutenant. And then the last thing is, and I'm just going to report facts on this, no editorial comment, but we had a COG meeting the day after our last city council meeting, and one of our presentations was by Wayne Niederhauser, who is the chair of the homeless task force for the state. Governor Cox appointed him to that, and he laid out the code blue and the 3 second-class counties, Washington, Davis, and Utah County, and our response to that. We had formed, I think I told you this before, a board of 6 mayors a year ago. May, they worked long and hard on it. They came up with a solution, but they didn't have a funding requirement for it yet. And then we found out one of the mayors spoke up and said, hey, isn't there a public meeting going on about a permanent facility being possibly proposed? And it was a public meeting that was happening the next day, and that mayor went to that. And so presently, they're looking at, and this is kind of, it looks like the state and our county commissioners, unless there's somebody else I'm missing. None of the board knew about it, but some property in North Salt Lake that the state will participate in, and the county will give some dollars to. And that's just a half a mile over the border from Salt Lake County, so it's in Davis County. And a motion was made by Mayor Mendenhall to approve it, and the rest of the board tabled it until the next meeting here later this month. So it's right now that would be a permanent facility, and it would be as it's proposed right now. It hasn't passed, so that would be managed and run by Switchpoint, who also has a St. George and a 12 facility.
Mayor, not a political commentary, but could be, but do you feel that a Davis Homeless Resource Center located so far south in the county is really not servicing our residents? Like if we're really trying to service homeless residents in Davis County, it seems,
That's where the task force is pretty upset about.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, yeah, trying to,
Yeah, no, I
'cause
mean,
I have a
that's-
few more people to talk to
Yeah.
of how this all went down, but, yeah, that's, they feel pretty deflated that they were just kind of ignored.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what, they were trying to find a solution. Yeah, it meets that's another problem with the state mandate, it meets the state mandate that was unfunded, you know, because it's Davis County, but it's only half a mile over the border. So, you know, so, and then, oh, I think that's it, other than, I will be attending some league meetings and we bring back a report. I'm attending Thursday's session. Tomorrow I'm gonna be with some, the state senators at another event, so, but, I'll report back on both of those later, so. That's what I have. Anything I missed that I should be
Does the city
reporting on?
have any service projects for Day of Service?
Oh, shoot, yes. Yes, this coming Saturday, okay. Well, I did bring this up 2 weeks ago. We have on Friday the 6th, we have the first responder honoree, and they'll take their trucks around to the elementary schools. That's on Friday at 8 for just a brief half hour. And on Saturday, it is two big things going on. You got the preparedness fair going on all day long, and you got the 9/11 service day. And Bruce, I sent him to that meeting because I was on family vacation with some things for our city. But Brent, did he come up with maybe more fire hydrant painting, and what are some of the?
I don't have the projects in front of me right now, but there
Yeah.
are a few
Yeah.
city sponsors. I was just trying to pull it up right now to remind you of the list, but we do have several projects here.
Yeah. I know there's a quilting project going on again. I don't think that's for the city down at Centerville Junior. I think they got the blood drive going again, but I think all the projects are listed on Just Serve. So, but that's Saturday morning, the 9/11 service day, and like I said, the preparedness day, the same day. So, thank you, Councilwoman. Anything else that you think I missed? All right. City manager report.
All right, thanks, Mr. Mayor. A lot of the same things you've got going on. Helped participate in those interviews for the fire chief, which was, it was great to be a part of that process as well. The next update I really have is, it's been kind of a busy day for fire and police today, right, chief? There's been a lot going on, so spending a lot of time. I just applaud our public safety is just amazing here in Centerville, and I appreciate all of them and the efforts they go through to protect us and serve us. Fires, oh, sorry, go ahead.
There is a recognition event, correct?
Yes, Chief Stone's recognition event.
Yes.
No,
Oh.
aren't we doing one on Friday? Isn't there
Yes,
like a?
that's the first responder
Yeah.
at Battery.
Yeah,
at 8 a.m.
okay.
Oh, yeah, the first responder one, correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's been, a lot going on over the weekend, and especially today, which was kind of fascinating. Other than that, I don't have anything. I'll be attending league meetings. I'm sorry, who's all attending? So Councilmember Plummer, Mayor, is it just the two of you? I'm very disappointed in the others.
Work conflict.
This should be your priority.
Brian's the only one that works, so.
The only one that works actually can make it. I don't understand. Bryce. He's embarrassed. Other than that, any questions for me? Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not aware that we have a closed session need tonight, are we?
Actually, yeah, I think,
We do?
yeah, if that's okay, if we can get a 60% vote, I think is what we need, whatever, 75%. I'd make a motion that we move to closed session to discuss pending or imminent litigation, and not to return to, with For the purpose, yeah.
Reasonably, and
Reasonably in it, thank you, and not to return to the general session, to our general
I'll
meeting.
second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, you got to do a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Guess we have our 60%, is that what we need?
Yeah.
So, council, please close.
You want Sydney to stay?